I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. Promise it's all good. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. It's all good. Get blow up like I'm blowing up like you thought I would. I'm like you thought I would. And if you don't know, I'm blowing up like you thought.
Look to the Republic of Arsenal. Arsenal 0, Everton 1. The game has only ended there a couple of minutes ago, and Jesus, lads, talk about some ups and some downs. From the absolute madness of the protest today to such an anticlimactic performance and result, but we're going to do our best. We're going to do our best to get into it, talk about it as best we can. A Bernd Leno own goal. As I said, a 1-0 win for Everton. Everton doing a domestic double overs, a league double for the first time in 35 years. So yet again, we're breaking records. The wrong ones, unfortunately. Before we get into it, though, as I said, look, there was some insane scenes outside the Emirates Stadium today, and I want to say big up to all the fans that turned out there today, all the fans that voiced your opinions online. And, you know, this hashtag Cronky out, everybody that tuned in to check out the coverage and that. And myself and Dave were on earlier, and a massive thanks to everybody that watched, because the numbers have been absolutely crazy, like overwhelming, absolutely insane. And look, I basically just want to say, like, I'm actually really, really proud. I'm proud to be an Arsenal fan after what I saw today. You know, really proud of the fan base. I think they conducted themselves brilliantly. You know, it seemed, from what I saw anyway, I haven't seen anything negative. It seemed like it went off without a hitch. You know, we went out, we protested in numbers, we made our voices heard, and we did it in the right way. Again, I'm going to go to Farhan in a little bit. He's going to tell us kind of what he saw, because he was our correspondent out on the streets. We had him running around outside the stadium today. So, yeah, it's going to be great to get his point of view. So, as I said, look, I'm proud of our fan base today. And, you know, if our players that walk out on that pitch had even an ounce of the passion and hunger and desire that our fan base has, you know, we would be a force to be reckoned with. It's such a shame. You know, it is such a shame. The problems we have with the ownership and whatever else is one thing. But, look, some of them players, they just keep proving time and time again, and I think tonight is going to be another one. And I hate to do this. I hate to kick this off so negatively, but like I'm pissed off now, because the day that was in it and what it meant, and it seemed that the fan base, as fired up as we were and as raring to go as we were, that didn't reflect what I saw on the pitch there tonight. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the guys in here, because I have a panel. So first of all, I'm going to bring Liam. So Liam from Anything Arsenal. So cheers for being with us, Liam.
Cheers, mate. Famous back.
Yeah, no hassle, man. Thanks for coming back. I know it's not easy at times for people. I always appreciate when people come back, especially after a shitty performance like that. And yeah, look, I'm going to bring Dave in next. So Dave was with me earlier on today, and Dave, you're a trooper, man. You put in some hard hours with me earlier, and you're back again for more punishment.
Exactly, bro. I'm a sucker for it. Oh, good to be back again. There's no better therapy than having it all out here. It gets us over the defeat, I think, some bit quicker than it usually does. So bring it on.
100%. And you did mention therapy, so you've already kicked off the intro for the next guy. I might have to change this up now, because we have Farhan, Gunner from 96, from the Arsenal Therapy podcast, who we like to call the resident therapist, but he's now the resident news reporter for this channel as well. So Farhan, putting in the hard miles in around the Emirates Stadium for us today.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate you having me on. It's been one hell of a day, it really has. As you can, I don't know if you can tell from the sound of my voice, it is in and out. And I was one of those that weren't really even that involved with all the chanting and stuff. I was more immersed in the environment, the aura of what was going on. I had to stop myself and look around and really take it all in, because it was so surreal having that many numbers. When I turned up an hour before it all kicked off. It was very sort of mellow, it seemed like something was brewing, but it was difficult to tell how far this was going to go. And then at 6 o'clock, when sort of all the fans, I mean, it only took, I think I was live with you guys, and someone let a flare go in the background, and that was sort of the introduction of a certain group that came with that energy that was needed. And it was from then on really where that vibe continued, and only got better from then on. But I'm sure we'll get into all of that. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me on. It's great to be here and reflect on everything that's happened so far.
No, look, it's definitely me that owes you a thanks, and like yourself and all the guys that really helped us out. A lot of us are in the same boat. We couldn't get out there, so it was great to have that. It almost felt as though at times I was there and I was in the thick of the action, and I got some kind of an experience, and that was the whole idea behind it, to give people kind of a feeling of being there from afar. So as I said, there was a lot of people, and I'm sure they all appreciate that you were willing to give up a bit of time to come on. So like big up to yourself, and Lottie, Albert, Dan, the guys from the N5, so yeah, I really do appreciate it. And the footage was really cool. And my God, I was jealous. I was jealous sitting here watching that. I kept saying to Dave, I was like, oh, Dave, how good would it be to be over there right now? Like, it looked insane. But it was kind of funny you should say that, because about the flare, because you were only literally in the middle of saying to us, yeah, it's quite mellow, but it has that kind of tension in the air. And then you were like, oh, hang on, here goes a flare. And I was going, oh shit, it's going to kick off, is it? But yeah, look, I guess we'll stick with you, Farhan, for the moment, since you were out there. Did you see anything? As I said, it looked to me like it remained pretty calm, and it kind of stayed on course for what it was supposed to be. Did you witness any trouble whatsoever?
No, not necessarily any trouble. It was a bit worrying when fans started getting on the box office roof, and I think one fan fell pretty early on their face. Paramedics had to come and escort them out into the ambulance. I think the rumors were that he cracked his head, and so it seemed a bit worrying from that front, because fans were getting a little bit riled up, maybe a bit over the top, but understandably so, because it was the first time that fans could really get together following COVID restrictions and whatnot. So and a mixture of frustration as well with the ownership. I got the impression that a lot of fans were there with their mates and stuff, and to some extent were having a good time as well, because it was like the first time the Arsenal fan base could get together and really sing Arsenal's name, sing the chants that we've been missing and we've been unfortunately limited to hearing on TV through those god awful sound effects that Sky and BT play. But other than that, it was fairly unified. In fact, it was very unified. I didn't see any bits of any bit of fan on fan or any division of any sort. I think nearing the end, when I left about 7, because I wanted to get home for the game. I saw a bit of trouble with the police, but you get that with every protest. You get a few fans having a few scuffles with the police, and it wasn't anything too serious. But like I said, for the most part, it was great. The environment was brilliant. It was electric. It was almost like you're at a concert at times. And I'm not the type of guy to when I go to protests to get into the thick of it. I like to have my distance and just observe, make the numbers up, and do my bit of chanting when I can as well. But you could tell that these fans that had turned up, they really wanted to get their point across. They really wanted to make a point, and be heard. And immediately I noticed when I got there that Sky Sports were there, the mainstream media were there and ready, and that for me was a victory for us, because I was unsure whether these guys were going to make a show, were going to come out and show this. And I understood obviously we had a game on, it was going to be on Sky Sports, but I questioned how much publicity we were going to have. But it was great, because now there is no doubt in my mind that Stan, Josh, everybody associated with the club would have seen those scenes, and now we played a waiting game to see what course of action they take and how much more of this is needed. Because, I mentioned it before, I don't think it's going to take one protest. I don't think it's going to take 2 or 3. I think it will take several. I think there will be more drastic action needed. And this is something we should have done years ago. But unfortunately, with our fan base, it's really difficult to get everybody on the same page. But now that we've got everyone singing from the same hymn sheet, we can proceed onto the next step. And really, I think the first victory in getting us out of that Super League conversation showed us and proved to ourselves that, we can do this. If we stick together, not just as an Arsenal fan base, but as a global fan base, we can dictate what happens in our sport. And obviously, lots of conversations about how football clubs should be run, how much government intervention should be introduced, whether fans should be given a stakeholder into clubs. And Josh was asked a question as well, and he said, he's open to discussing it. I don't know what that meant, but it was nice to hear fans having that conversation with the guys right at the top, and introducing the idea of giving the club back to the fans again. Because I think unless we follow a German sort of model similar to that, we're never going to have a voice, and we're never going to have any influence. But today, regardless of what's been happening this season with Arteta, regardless of what's been happening with Kroenke and the way that they've been running the club for the last 10 years, today the fans put their foot down and really made it clear that, this isn't what we want.
Yeah, and like you said, everybody was unified, and that was the main thing. Everyone had that common goal, and I love that people were willing to put, all the differences aside, all the, when you think of it in the grand scheme of things, petty arguments that we'd be having. This manager is the best manager for the job. This guy is not. He's shit. This player should be here. This player should be there. In the grand scheme of things, when you look at what we're all fighting for now, they seem like very minuscule little things we're arguing over. So yeah, definitely it was important that everybody got together, and they weren't using this as an excuse to kind of riot against each other, because you see that sometimes. You see sometimes people show up for these things and kind of, you're there for one reason, but they're using it for another. But yeah, from what I could see, and definitely from what you're saying, it sounded like everybody was there in unison, singing from the same hymn sheet, as you said. But Liam, what do you reckon now? Kroenke maybe gonna sit up now and kind of, have we got him listening now, do you think? Again, like Farhan said, this isn't gonna be, a case of he's gonna sit there and go, oh, okay, they mean business now, right? I better pack my bags and go. But did you get an impression today that this was like a big moment for the club, and this is kind of maybe a bit of a change in attitude from the fans, and we've kind of let them know now, look, we mean business now, we're not taking this shit any longer?
I hope so. But the problem is with these owners, half of them just simply do not care. Even with the abuse they get, things that get thrown at them, they do not care. So, and especially with Stan Kroenke, because he's not the one basically getting the abuse, because he's not here. He's hiding in his massive ranch in America. He can easily switch off from it. Obviously, Josh can't, because Josh does come to the games and Josh will hear it. And obviously, I've no doubt that, again, will Stan even bother going on social media to see what's going on? No. So then you've almost got to rely on Josh giving him the real happenings and not sort of a watered down version of what's actually going on. So I suppose we're almost putting our trust in almost Josh to tell Stan what we really think, and hopefully Stan does the right thing. But what finds are there is, it's over the years, we've been very, very split. I remember a game in particular, Leicester away. They just won the league, actually. We played them first game of the season away from home, and we drew 0-0. And I was at the game, and there was a few, obviously anti-Wenger chants at the time. It was always respectful. Just, we want Wenger out. We want Wenger out. Nothing major going on. I was one of them singing that. But then all of a sudden, behind me, a little bit of sort of a mini fight broke out, because, again, it's what our fan base have done. Instead of just accepting that someone's got a different opinion to you, it's, no, I don't agree with you. Now let's fight. But then the moment you do that, you've completely lost your argument, no matter what side of the fence you're on. So as far as it's the first time ever where we're all together in genuinely wanting the same thing. It's fantastic. Like you say, Arteta in, Arteta out, Wenger in, Wenger out, Emirates. It doesn't matter now. Everyone wants this man gone. And, you know, this will be the loudest we've ever been about something. So hopefully, and it's not just about obviously Kroenke, you know, I mean, there's a big, what I'd love to see, by the way, on Sunday, Man United are playing Liverpool. Now, I'd love them to put their differences aside for this game. How big, because everyone knows that rivalry is massive in world football, not just English football, because of the history of the two teams. Now, if them fans can come together before the game and do a joint thing, you know, Kroenke is out, you know, JW Henry out, and they can do it together, what an image and what a statement for football that would also be. That these two big rivalries can come together and go, no, actually, when it matters most, we'll stand hand in hand, and actually we have the same thing we want. We want these greedy people out of our clubs. And I've said it a few times that more needs to be done by the people above, i.e. the FA, the government, you know, people with football, because we've seen too many teams go out of business. So many teams nearly go out of business. And we're not even talking about, I think there's 3 or 4 owners that are currently in prison for wrongdoings. And I think, how have these people even been allowed to buy the club in the first place? You got the Charlton owner. Before the geezer that's in charge now, Sanderson or Anderson or something like that, the geezer before that apparently had all this money. And then you had this big Charlton fan that sort of was the spearhead. Then all of a sudden they found out this geezer actually had no money. I think, how has he been allowed to take control of this club then? And I think that's the problem, that the FA are seeing these numbers, and I'm like, they're just seeing all these zeros on a piece of paper going, oh, that's a bit of us for football. Yeah, that looks good for English football. But where's this money coming from? Is this legit? Have they got this money? So it's not just about like us, you know, holding Stan Kroenke and this Super League, but it's also saying Sky, BT, UEFA, FIFA, everyone involved, wake the fuck up and sort out our game, because you are just to blame as these greedy owners, as this ESL ridiculous idea. They are all in this together and they've all started, and it's just got progressively worse and worse when now it's finally, you know, got to a point where, okay, enough's enough now. So obviously we've got to take it on our owners. But this is also deeper than that as well, because as I said, the FA and UEFA, they've all got to take some of the blame. And I just hope that the footballing world really go, no, do you know what? Let's all do this together.
Yeah, definitely. As you were saying there, you know, United and Liverpool, there'd be no bigger game for, you know, two groups of fans to come together. I had heard actually, I'd heard said that apparently Man United fans were planning. I think it was from tomorrow. I think they're planning to do something all right. So yeah, look, that could be something on the cards. But yeah, look, even you know, going back to, you know, people being united against these guys. When we had Lottie on the channel when we first started, and she was saying that there was Chelsea fans there, and they were, you know, joining in the Kroenke out and all this. And now look, I'm not expecting, you know, Chelsea and City fans are one thing. I'm not expecting them to turn around and go against their owners, because with all due respect, they're not going to throw away the 10 years of history that their clubs have had. Do you know what I mean? Like ours, Liverpool's, Man United's goes back a long time. Like these are new money clubs, Chelsea and Man City. They're not turning around, and they're not getting Abramovich out and Sheikh Mansour out, because if they do, they go back to being mediocre, absolutely nothing clubs. And I mean that with the most respect or disrespect, whatever way you want to take it. But look, truth hurts, lads, and I'm sorry. And I do see, I'm sorry, I'm slightly having a dig because I see a friend of mine in the chat who is a Chelsea fan. So I wanted to get a little dig in there as well. But like, it is the truth, though. Do you know what I mean? It is the truth, and this is where it started from. And I always point the finger at Chelsea and Abramovich, and that you kicked this off. this is what you started. And the FA, and the guys who are running the show, they're accountable. And they can't be surprised that there's been such a shift in power. You've let so many guys come into the league and you've allowed them to buy success, and you've allowed them to buy their way out of trouble. You've allowed them to break financial fair play rules. You can't be surprised when they start taking the piss on another level and go, well, actually, you let us in the door. Now that you let us in, we don't need you anymore, and we're going to do our own thing. So, look, if shit had hit the fan, they've only themselves to blame because they've allowed this go on for too long. And as you said, look, who is doing the background checks? Who's regulating these guys are coming in? Like you just said, they're looking at all the zeros, and that's all they're looking at. Like, I don't know if you remember, a couple of seasons ago, a guy got involved with Portsmouth. I think his name was Guidamac or something along them lines. And this guy had no money. And he was spending and spending, but he didn't have any money. And how that went on. And look where Portsmouth are now. Like, look what happened to Portsmouth. And you're going, how did this guy get into a club? Like, who's doing these checks? There were stories about, Usmanov. And, a lot of Arsenal fans were looking for Usmanov to, be allowed control and put money into the club. But supposedly his money is extremely dodgy as well. So, look, I don't know. It's all well and good having this, I'm going to call it short-term success, because those guys, they're only there, they're not going to be there for the long haul, because, again, businessmen and whatever else, they're only there for one thing in the long run. I don't know if I want to, I don't want us to get involved with that and go down that road. If someone's going to take over, I want them to do things the right way. Yeah, a bit of investment is unreal, but you want to know it's clean money. You know what I mean? We don't need that. But yeah, Dave, I guess slightly touching on the actual game itself, because it was really hard for me to focus on the fact that there was a game. And funny enough, even speaking to people that were at the stadium today, they were kind of going, "Oh yeah, there was a game." I forget who it was on the stream earlier. It was Dan, I think it was, and he'd said to a guy at the stadium, "What's your predicted lineup for tonight?" And the guy had said to him, "Oh yeah, we're playing tonight, aren't we?" It was absolute madness, because everybody was so focused on this protest, and nobody was even, I don't think anybody gave a shit, to be honest, about the game itself. And I think it's part because, look, really, what did we have to play for in the league? Really, what was there to play for? So I guess it was probably an easier fixture to go, does it really fucking matter? But yeah, for everything that went on, and in terms of the game itself, Dave, do you reckon the players, would have been probably a bit distracted going into that game tonight? Would all focus have been even on that game?
Yeah, look, it was bound to have some effect on him anyway, I suppose, with all the kind of the scenes and everything else that was going on outside. But you have to use that and turn it into kind of giving you a reason to perform as well. They just didn't do that. They were just flat. Kind of everything was slow. I kind of thought we were looking better from an attacking point of view in recent weeks, and then we kind of just went back to that whole toothless way that we were again tonight. I suppose it's just those performances that we're seeing so often this season. It's just no kind of urgency. It's all a bit slow, and then you're just waiting for that individual mistake at the back, and then we end up losing 1-0. I think that's our 8th game this season not scoring at home, our 13th loss overall in the season. And what was it? I think we've only 18 or 19 goals in like 17 home games this season as well. So
yeah,
like when you look at it, you are where you are from when you look at take those things into consideration. We're kind of reliant on the away form then, which kind of over the last couple of years we haven't been really that good away from home. We kind of always seem to steamroll teams at home. So it's just as well we've kind of changed around in that point of view. But yeah, look, it's the players kind of just didn't seem up for it. They gave the feel of this is a dead rubber game, but like we still, if we won tonight, we were going 8. We would have been ahead of Everton, and then we're 2 points behind Tottenham. So you have the possibility there of finishing 7th. I know you kind of look at it from a dead rubber point of view, but we do need to qualify for Europe next season, because if we don't qualify for Europe next season, what's the chances of us actually qualifying for again, or from the Champions League? The Europa League is the easier of two kind of tickets into the Champions League. So I do think we need to be in that as a consolation. But every time we have a chance to do something, we always seem to lose kind of that corresponding game then. So it's kind of back to square one again. Look, we've lost any kind of chances we've had. As I said, we lose it all the time, and then tonight was kind of last chance saloon, and they went and just produced the same thing again and ended up getting caught. Look, I didn't think Everton in the first half they had one or two chances, but second half we had them pinned in. They didn't do anything from an attacking point of view. Did they even have a shot in the second half of note? I can't remember, but then you're just kind of, I know we were talking about Jack as a left back and what he can do with the ball. It's just in that situation, look, Ancelotti put Richarlison over on him and just said, look, go at him, and then that's what he did. Xhaka probably went to ground a little bit too easy, and then look, what Leno did was just unforgivable. I honestly don't know what he was thinking. I'd love to have been in his head. Was he? I mean, sometimes I find with goalkeepers, was he thinking about what he was going to do with the ball before he actually had it under control, and then before we know it, the ball was in the back of the net. Look, we were never scoring, and then after that, if we were to score at 0-0, I would have been surprised, but that just made it doubly sure we were never scoring. And if only they showed kind of half of the effort that the fans have put in today, we'd be in a better place anyway, that's for sure. But look, it's kind of summed up probably what we know already, and look, it's all on to Thursday now against Villarreal.
Yeah, that's it. Look, case of same shite, different night, really, isn't it? But yeah, Farhan, I guess. Look, you know what? Like I said, my focus is so on what happened and the ownership and all this that I'm finding it difficult to solely focus on the game, especially because the game didn't give us an awful lot. So I'll probably be bouncing back and forth, to the ownership and all this. But in terms of look, we're not getting Europe from the league. And Jesus, I feel like I'm saying that all season, but it's been the truth. If we don't get Europe from the Europa League, we're looking for this guy to sell the club. Are we a harder sell? Is he likely to hang on to us a bit longer until we're at our most profitable if we don't make it?
Well, according to Josh Kroenke at the fan forum, they're not looking to sell the club. And I got the impression that, but then again, this is something we hear a lot from Josh. And credit to Josh, because I think he takes a lot of stick, but he's having to pick up the broken pieces from his old man. But at the same time, this is someone who was given responsibility since 2013, was it? I can't remember when it was official that he was a member of the board, and Arsenal Football Club was his. It was his responsibility. It was, Stan was no longer the mouthpiece. It was him, despite being on the paperwork. But I got the impression, because as I was going to the Emirates today, I got to listen to the audio. And I think there's a difference. When you listen to the audio, you get a sense of, the tone of voice and the attitude. And there was definitely, for the majority of the forum, the majority of the audio, it felt as if he didn't really care. He's not really concerned about how fans feel. And, it was almost as if it was a chore for him. It was just something on his list of things to do today. Join the fans forum and just get it over and done with. Very short, blunt answers, very forced. And it seems as if this ownership doesn't, they don't really get bogged down by what's happening. And that's why I stress, one protest isn't going to do anything. 2, 3, it won't result to anything to the amount that we're looking for. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be season in, season out. And we need to lose money, because there's two things these people are concerned about. It's money and reputation. We can see the amount of damage that this Super League fiasco has has had on their reputation. And as business people, you can't afford to have a poor reputation in the business world. You need to keep your reputation intact. Otherwise, no one's going to do business with you. And equally, you can't afford to lose money. Otherwise, that's a business venture, which is ultimately a waste of time. And these are ruthless people we're talking about. The Cronkies aren't just billionaires. They belong to the richest family in the world. You're forgetting who he's married to. He's married to the Walmart family. You know, they're valued as the richest family in the world. So these people know what it takes to get to the very top. They know how many toes and feet they need to step on before they make X amount. They're not bothered about me, you, or the millions of fans around the world. What they're bothered about, and it reminds me back to when Josh made that famous comment about, you know, being excited. I genuinely do believe now that that quote, being excited, did refer to the Super League, because we know that talks have been going on for decades. We know that Stan would have been in the midst of it. And regardless of what Vinay says about him not being involved in these conversations and him not being in the board I forgot the title that he would have been involved with Perez as well. But regardless of what Vinay says, I genuinely believe that Stan would have been at the forefront of trying to get this to happen. We saw that famous picture of him sitting with, you know, John Henry and the other mugs. And so, you know, I think ultimately it's really now down to the fan base to squeeze and to apply as much pressure as possible, because we're in for the long haul. I don't think change is going to happen anytime soon. I don't think this is something we're going to be able to reverse in a matter of months. I think it may take a year or two, but that shouldn't demotivate us, and that shouldn't stop us from continuing the work that we need to do. And this game ultimately was a reflection of what the Cronkies had done, because had we had an ownership who put a correct structure in place, a correct business structure, where you have a CEO who delegates to his other members of staff, then we would have someone who is able to adequately prepare a strategy of recruitment. Today we saw that the position which we was missing desperately was a striker, a finisher, someone who was able to get into the right places at the right time. Fortunately, Eddie's not that guy. He's never going to be that guy at Arsenal. Good luck to him wherever he may end up. With Lacazette, you can argue that he's not really an out-and-out finisher. He works hard for the team, but he's not a finisher. With Aubameyang, he is a finisher. But look, he's getting to the ripe old age now where form's dipping, his overall development has reached its peak and now is declining. And so what have the club done about this? Whose responsibility was it before Edu and Arteta came about? Before Unai Emery, whose responsibility was it to get the right players in? Because I remember a time where Arsenal's strategy was to get old and gold players, get your players that were hitting their peak development, players like Mkhitaryan, players like Socrates, you know, even Aubameyang to some extent. These were players who were hitting their prime, and this was short-term gain for hopefully getting back into the Champions League. So then we can start focusing on a proper strategy. But look where that's landed us now. Now we're looking at these players. Where's Socrates? He's gone. Mkhitaryan's gone. We didn't get anything for Sanchez. We didn't get anything for Ozil. Nothing for Ramsey. So where is the strategy? And this all goes back to the ownership, because like I said, had someone been there right at the very top to delegate properly, maybe we'd have people in the right places to set out a 5 to 10 year plan. It really does amaze me how a club of Arsenal's stature doesn't have, or it seems they don't have, a 5 to 10 year game plan. It seems as if we're going through the motions. It's just one season at a time, and the plan keeps changing, and nothing's really set in stone, and no one's willing to stick to anything. Even Vinay, even back in December, he made that famous quote about saying how we hold our values dear to us, remembering who we are, and who we represent. It's almost remixing Rocky's famous slogan. And it only took him 3 months to flush that all down the toilet. Who are we? Who's Arsenal Football Club? Because the guys at the top are certainly making a meal of what our values are and who we represent and who we are. Someone mentioned a comment, this club is a shambles from top to bottom, and they're not wrong. And it gets to a point now where I can't be disappointed with Arsenal losing to Everton twice in a season, because what more do we expect? If these guys at the top aren't willing to delegate properly, to have somebody at the club stationed, do you know how important it is to have a face there, an owner who is ready? Farhad Mashiri was at the Emirates today. The owner of Everton made the trip to the Emirates. We can barely get our owners to a home game in the Premier League. Unless we're in the FA Cup, you'll barely see anyone representing KSC being here in London. And, Josh made a point of saying, you're going to see me a lot more. I'm going to be stationed here in London a lot more. Well, let's see. Let's see whether you can back up your words. I mean, I think it's a little bit too late to make any false promises. But summer transfer window is going to be interesting. We've already seen reports coming out from the Mail saying that the Cronkies are dedicated to giving us the funds that we need, etc., etc. I mean, we've heard it all far too long, far too many times. And yeah, I don't really know if there's anything else to add. I don't know if there's much point talking about the game. Like I said, it's just nothing more than a reflection of what we've seen and a reflection of what the protest was all about. Exactly.
As I said, that's why I'm probably going to keep referring back to this, because look, it is the hot topic, the ownership and whatever else going on. But we will try to tie in the game as best we can. But yeah, Liam, is it a case of it's just too little too late now? Kroenke supposedly is going to promise some investment for us. Too little too late at this stage. Like, you're not buying it now.
So you just breaking up there. It's about him not investing. Was that Andy? Sorry,
I checked me. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Yeah. So I was just saying, as Farhan was saying, Josh Kroenke was trying to tell us all the right things again, that they're still committed and they will invest. But at this stage, are you buying it? Is it too little too late? The damage is irreparable at this stage. Even if they were to give us, say, 100 million to spend in the summer transfer window, are you kind of looking at that and going, okay, maybe things are going to change? Or for you, like most people, I'm sure, it's done. It's done. It's just time to go. You can take your promises, you can take your money, and you can fuck off.
Yeah, I don't trust any of them because, like you've said, they made the excuse that the reason they did this ESL was because obviously they needed the money because they were so hampered by the pandemic. Yeah, I can imagine that must have really hurt, all them billions you've got in your pocket. It must have been dreadful to lose a few quid. Let's not worry about, the normal working person that lost lives, lost jobs, lost homes. But let's worry about you losing a few thousand out of your, few billion you've got. It must have been dreadful time for them. And I think that's the problem. You can't even relate to these people because I'm like, mate, you have absolutely no idea about the normal working person. Your life is beyond anyone else's. So you can't make me feel sorry for you because, we had to do it because we're out of pocket. Oh, my heart bleeds for you. I mean, 100%, let's sign up tomorrow. So, no, the fact they've already used the excuse that this was needed to cover the losses says to me, well, where's the money going to be then when it comes to the summer? Because apparently, obviously, they're skint. I mean, he must be the only billionaire that's got no money. It's incredible. I mean, how is that possible? Where is your money? What are you doing with it? So, yeah, I don't believe any of it for a second because, we're told, as Fine said there, be excited. Obviously, yeah, it seems like it was now the ESL talk. But we're obviously hoping at the time, it's going to be big investments, isn't it? And the thing is as well, the problem is as well, even when we have on the very, very few players that we have invested big money in, they've obviously clearly been the wrong players as well. So it's not just about not even getting any money from. When we have got the very, very few quid from them that we have got, we've not even invested in the right players. So that comes obviously from the management or the board to not give us enough. And then when we do, who the hell's sanctioning these players? Who's the person that's allowing us to buy these players? Because they're the wrong players that we're buying. So it's proven that it's a complete mess all around. Like, even if, Arteta had 200 million, I don't think it's just about Arteta. I think it's just the club as a whole. Whoever was in charge right now, because we know that the manager is not solely in control of the transfers and the people coming in. We know that now. It's almost above them. So whoever's in charge, whatever money we're given by the Kroenke, we can be given 400 million tomorrow. I don't even trust the people to buy the right fucking players for that money. So I don't even think I'd want that money right now. So I don't think what shit we're even buying. So it's like, no. Like, you've got to just wait. God knows how long it is to get rid of these clowns. Hopefully then it's not just the Kroenkes. There's a lot more internal that needs to go with it. And it's the whole process. Like, a lot of fans do know this, but unfortunately there's a lot of fans that don't know this. But clearly things went downhill the moment David Dein left our club. The man knew how to negotiate. Yes, again, there was a lot of negativity around him because he mentioned this back in the early 90s about a Super League. So he was always someone that maybe might have gone to this, but coming away from that, when it comes to getting the right players for the right deal and stuff like that, he was our man. He knew how to negotiate. And people say about United, when they had David Gill, they were frightening, the people they found. The bargains they found in the market was exceptional. Then this clown Ed Woodward turns up. The geezer couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery. And they're talking about going off this player, this. So that's the problem. It's not just the owners. It's the other people that are part of this larger process and circle, if you like. And that's the problem. Yes, we need to talk about getting the Kroenkes out. But there's a lot more people that also need to go as well. And that's the problem. Yes, keep this up. Every game, like I said, go and tell people the Kroenkes need to go. But if they go tomorrow, let's not sit back and go, there's our victory. No, let's go again. Let's get the next person out and the next person out until we really realise that every single person that we can hold to blame has gone. And then we start again. And unfortunately, it's going to be a long, long process. But if today shows anything, it shows that when we're together as a club, we can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Strength in numbers. Do you know what? The part that's pissed me off most is, whenever something like this happens and there's a bit of uproar, a bit of unrest from the fan base, suddenly then they're obviously under pressure and they want to tell us what we want to hear. They want to calm the situation down. Like the last time, all that, get excited and, I'm going to be more involved, all this. Now we're here, and because there's unrest in amongst the fans and the protest had been planned and all this, and obviously Kroenke addressed the fans and he said, look, we want to be involved and we want to invest in that. How come now they have the money to invest, but when 55 people at the club were made redundant, they didn't have money to pay their wages? But now, because we're all pissed off, suddenly they can find whatever amount of £1 million that's going to be needed to not even turn us into a competitive side again. Like, this could take 100 million just to keep us floating in and around 7th, 8th place in the table, because this squad is in trouble. This squad is, and I don't care. I keep saying this. People keep saying to me, Emery had a worse squad. And fuck that. This proves Emery didn't have a worse squad. I don't care what anyone says. This squad is proven to me to be worse than Emery's squad. I don't care who we have. My famous quote, on paper. I don't care who we have on paper. The reality is they're showing me they're worse players than what he had. So I'm sorry. Until they finish higher in the table, I'm saying Unai Emery's squad was better than what we currently have now, because this squad right now is just, it's shocking. It's so bad. And look, yeah, we go back to the manager again, and yeah, okay, the manager, this, that, whatever. And yeah, of course he has a part to play. But yeah, no, lads, I worry. I really do worry. They're saying that they want to invest, but like, how much do you invest in this squad to make it somewhat competitive? Because there's so much from top to bottom needs reinvestment. Like the background staff needs reinvestment first and foremost. as you said, look, Arteta is in there, and I see the argument people saying, well, Arteta is the guy, he buys the players, he picks the team, blah blah, all this. But this is why at other clubs they have this this setup in the background that I know a lot of people don't like it when the manager doesn't have the full say, but sometimes there's a reason why a manager is left to pick the team and coach the players, because he might not be very savvy in the transfer market. And this is where you have other guys who do all the scouting and the research and this for him, take that job away from him. And I think that's maybe what we need. Like, if these signings were Arteta signings, I am a bit concerned because clearly they haven't been good enough. So maybe we do need a guy in there that's going to take that power away from him and say, look, your strength is clearly on the training ground. Like, you are, first and foremost, he is a coach. That's what he came to us from Man City as. That's what people were singing his praises as. They were saying, he's one of the best guys we worked with. He sees things we don't see. Players like Sterling and that have said he's changed things in my game. Little tweaks here and there. He obviously has an eye for. Clearly, if he is allowed the power to be signing players, he's not very good at it right now in this very moment in time. So, yeah, a bit of investment in the background, I think, take that bit of pressure away from him and take that bit of say off him, because we need people who know what they're doing. Because, like I said, this squad is in trouble. It really, really is. And I'm a bit concerned as well. Like, as much as I want Champions League football, I want that as much as the next guy. We're not ready for Champions League football. We are not ready. And I think this is the problem. People are saying that, if you speed up the process, you can fast track to getting ourselves back on the right track. But I don't think that is the case, because I think we've a lot of young players who are developing. I see an awful lot of talent and a lot of things that make me excited for the future. But they're not ready. As much as we love them and as much as we rate them, they are not ready. They're not ready for the big leagues. Europa League at the moment is our level. We win the Europa League, we get Champions League football, we could be given 200 million to spend. And as Liam, as you said, I don't trust the club to spend it wisely enough to make us competitive. And do I want to go back to the Champions League to be hammered by Bayern Munich and Barcelona? No, I don't want that. As much as I don't want to be playing in the Europa League, I would rather be getting at least to a semi-final or a final of a Europa League and having a chance of winning the competition than be the whipping boys of the group stage in the Champions League. Like, is the money worth that? Is it really? What is the point? And that's what burnt me out with Arsenal in the Champions League. And I know people will probably go, oh, you're mad. But it wasn't that long ago. It's still fresh in my mind when we were in the Champions League and we were getting smashed. And was it fun? It was great at the end of the season to say, okay, we qualified for it. But really, hand on heart, was it that enjoyable being smacked about in the Champions League against Bayern Munich? No, it wasn't. So I don't want to go back to that. Like, if we're going to go back, I want us to do it right. But I think we will try talk about the game a little bit. Maybe we just give the game about 10 minutes or so before we finish up, because I'm sure you're all burnt out today as much as I am. It's been a long day. Farhan, I'd say you are knackered, and as Ashton said earlier, you were like a war correspondent out there today. It was pretty mad out there. But look, I suppose it probably sounds a bit stupid. 48 minutes in, but what did you think of the lineup? What are you, Dave? What are you thinking about that lineup? We talk the lineup, we get into the goal, and then look, we'll wrap it up. We'll only spend 5-10 minutes on it because, it was a shit show again, wasn't it?
Why were you asking me
there? Sorry, I was just trying. I'm going to throw up the line up there for you. I know, as I said, it's probably a bit mad at this stage. We're nearly an hour in, and now we're going to talk lineup. But as I said, look, first and foremost, I guess we do have to talk the game, and you can probably tell I've been trying to avoid it as much as possible. But yeah, look, was there anything in there that you I don't know, any positive whatsoever with that team?
The team selection, it was probably look of you to next Thursday. That might be probably something onto what he was planning to play next Thursday. So look, probably put it out tonight, I suppose, to get get them used to it, kind of work on something for next Thursday and try and bring that in. But whatever it was, it isn't working anyway, that's for sure. So I suppose, look, before the game, I didn't really say much about it, but I wasn't really. The game was kind of the last thing on my mind, that kind of way. It was kind of, there was the protest going on, and then look, it's just kind of gone that way this season as well, where the games have become more meaningless as time has gone on. Yeah, I was happy to see Murray come back in. I think him and Holding have a better partnership than what Gabriel and Holding have. Um, Chambers right back. Look, it was okay. Kind of at the moment, long term, no. Shaka left back. Look at again that had been working okay, so I can see why he went. Why he went it again. Ultimately, I can kind of see about why he went with, and then from a striker point of view, I always kind of knew he'd bring in Nketiah, but I was surprised that they didn't involve Balogun at all. I thought Balogun would have been involved, but I don't know. Seems to be kind of keeping him well wrapped at the minute, so it's hard to know what he's going to do with that one between the end of the season. But yeah, look, it was probably a view to what he might have looked at going into the Villarreal game, but I think it's kind of left more nearly questions now than answers for before Thursday when you look at the performance and what it produced and going into that game. But look again, your next Europa League is your biggest game of the season since we hit the knockout, so we just have to go again with that. Yeah, I think I'd be bringing Xhaka back into midfield against Villarreal. I think that experiment is over now. Let's get him back into midfield, and if we have to put Cedric in there, we will. It's good to see Odegaard came back and got minutes, and hopefully Aubameyang will be on the healthier side of things, because I know we slate him and all that, but at the moment we need him in the team more than we need him out of the team at the moment, especially with Lacazette now with the hamstring injury. You're looking at minimum, I think they're usually 3 weeks, so I knew he wasn't going to play tonight. It'd be unlikely he might make it back for the first leg, so we have to see with that. But game wise, yeah, look, there wasn't really a whole pile happening. I was talking to myself and yourself were talking through it, and we're just like, this couldn't be this couldn't be more boring if it tried. So it was just kind of one of those things. You're nearly just watching out of force of habit at this stage, because you kind of know what's happening. And so we're saying off air as well, you could run the same stream from the start of the season and repeat, and it would be the same thing. Like we shouldn't even be coming on tonight. We'll just keep doing the reruns, and it'll be the same thing. But yeah, look, I suppose I just want to touch on the Stan Kroenke kind of thing, just to get in there on that. I don't want his investment at all, regardless of how much it might be. He's burned his bridges now, and it's time to move on from that. And as I said on the live with you earlier, he thinks because he's going to sign us all these new flashy players that everyone's going to be happy again, and that's it. As I said, it's like you get in a fight, you get in a fight with your missus, and then you buy her something then just to make up that, and then it's all okay. Then after that again, that's not how it works. But yeah, I think the it's probably going to be hard coming into Thursday when you think about kind of the off the field stuff. Is that going to play a factor again? Possibly, but yeah, it's just not really a whole pile to say in the game from the point of view was I can't really remember a chance that we had that you would say we needed to score there. There's kind of
Yeah.
the only thing is the VAR decision. I can't understand how Fulham got a penalty and the onside decision
Yeah.
went to Fulham last week, but this week there was minimal contact and a very
Yeah.
similar offside decision, and it went against us. It's just like the decisions seem to be going against us more often than not. It's like I feel like when we're going to VAR, I don't know about you. I'm waiting for the decision that's going to go against Arsenal, because
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
used to it at this stage. I'm looking around going, what's wrong with that goal, or who's offside, or what was there a foul in the build up as opposed to even celebrating? Like it's just gone ridiculous at this stage. And you can't enjoy the games. It's just as well the fans aren't in the stadium from a VAR point of view as well, because there'll be pandemonium in the stands as well as with owners and everything like that as well. So no, it is another one of
Yeah.
those nights. It's our 13th time doing this season off the back of a last. So
Yeah, and
I
that
don't know.
doesn't include Europa League or FA Cup or Carabao Cup or. Now, here, put this into perspective. Now, imagine we're in the Champions League and how many times we'd be doing this.
We don't need to be in it. Did you see the games? Did you see the games that we watched last week? That PSG and Bayern game and Liverpool and Real Madrid and that. I was sitting thinking, lads, imagine we were playing against those teams on those nights. Oh my God. Did you see 10-2 against Bayern Munich? I'd take that.
Well, look, we saw what an understrength, out of form Liverpool team were capable of doing to us. You know, this is Liverpool off form, so that's why I'd be concerned. But yeah, look, Liam, we'll talk that VAR decision. My initial thought, that penalty call was that is soft as they come, and I wasn't happy with Danny Ceballos. So in a way, I'm not saying I'm happy, but I don't like to see that. You know, if we're gonna do something again, I'd rather we do it the right way. For me, there was little or no contact, and I would have been pissed off had that been given against us outside of the offside. What did you make of that penalty call?
Do you know what? Fun enough, there's a group chat, and I don't know, about 6 or 7 of us in it, and I must have been the only one that said I don't even think it's a penalty. But obviously, regardless of that, yeah, I mean, the offside itself is just absolute criminal because they've used Pepe's elbow for starters. Well, you can't score with your elbow, so that's pointless. They've basically got fucking Microsoft Paint out to draw. I mean, listen, we were told, as I said, the thing that pisses me off is they were the ones that kept telling us clear and obvious. What was clear and obvious about it? Regardless if you come to the right decision, eventually, it's not clear and obvious. They're the one that chose to use them words, so stick to it. But regardless of that, I'm with you. I didn't think it was a penalty anyway. I thought it was very, very harsh. I watched it again over and over, and I'm looking going, I actually still can't see the contact, which is more frustrating because even if there was contact, he's turned him. He's obviously wrong-footed him because he's gone that way, and Tobias has gone that way. So you're almost then cutting in on the edge of the box. So you're in a good position, but obviously, naturally, nowadays, you get any contact, you go down. But look, overall, I thought the decision leveled itself out, shall we say. But as always, the reason Arsenal lost is because we beat ourselves, as always. And I was saying today, fun enough, before you two jumped on, that regardless of, you know, if you're Arteta in, Arteta out and all that, again, right now, I don't even think it matters right now. How many defeats, just even the turn of the year, have we actually had that it's been a massive individual error like that that's cost us the game? Now, don't get me wrong, you go the other side of the pitch, we've not really done enough to win the game, but we're constantly losing the game. Like I said, like when we lost to Liverpool 3-0 or even Villa 3-0, yeah, we were an absolute disgrace. But at least you go, yeah, that was a good goal from them. I can't even say that. You go, how are we conceding that goal? It's just beyond. I can't even understand. Like how Leno's let that through him, I don't know. And it's just becoming too constant. And I was saying only in January and February that at that time, in January and February, after we was going on a good run, and even prior to that, when we were getting beat at home and taking the Villa game out of it, as a defensive unit coming away from individual errors, it was the best we'd looked in years as a unit defensively. But in the last couple of months, it is just been almost gone from one extreme to the other. It's just incredible, like unbelievable. There's only one point I do want to make, that I know a lot of people are trying to say that Emery's a better manager than Arteta. Well, I'd expect him to be. This is a man of 14 years experience against a man of 18 months experience. If I've been in my job for 14 years and a geezer's come in 18 months and he's better than me, I'm fucking concerned for my job because that geezer should not be better than me because I've been doing this for 14 years. So I think sometimes you do have to take that into consideration, regardless whether he was the right man for the job because he hadn't had a job before us. You do still have to take that into consideration, that there's a big level of difference in their experience. And I likened it to, he's almost like an apprentice, regardless of what job you do. If you have an apprentice job and after 18 months you go, there's your positives, there's your negatives. But because you're new to the job, do you know what? We can chip away at the negatives and we can turn them into positives one by one. If you've got a bloke that's doing a job for 14 years and you go, there's your positives, there's your negatives, them negatives are staying as negatives because they're not negatives anymore. They're bad habits that you then can't change. So I think sometimes when you're trying to compare Emery and Arteta, it's pointless because 14 years to 18 months, you can't compare the two. So I think sometimes you have to sort of just understand that. But I understand if people are not happy with Arteta, but don't use it with an Emery situation because they're just completely different situations for me. But look, trying to go back to the game, it's just, as I said, I mean, what I say, I think I named 4 things every single time. Missed chances, not there actually was many today. Individual errors, yet again. Late subs, we know that's Arteta's downfall. On the 60th minute, you could see it needed freshening up. 72nd minute, it happens. It's just the same stuff over and over again, and it's just so repetitive, and it's just almost getting boring saying the same thing. But there's no other way to describe it apart from exactly the same thing that we're saying week in, week out. Missed chances, individual errors, late subs.
And VAR.
And, oh, well, yeah. I try not to go on that one. That one pickers me up.
No, you're dead right, though. Yeah, you are dead right. And I said this before our last game as well. The 1-1 draw with Fulham. As I'd said to everybody, I didn't get to watch the game live. But I got a couple of updates on my phone later on in the day. And before I even watched it, I briefly read what people were saying. And I just said, this is just the Wolves game all over again. You know, a VAR penalty that wasn't. And it's the same. It seems to be the same game on repeat. And as I said, the same individual errors, individual mistakes, not taking our chances. But yeah, look, Liam, you summed it up brilliantly. Beating ourselves. We're beating ourselves, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're not scoring goals, and now we're scoring goals for the opposition. Farhan, in terms of Granit Xhaka at left back, I think, you know, I wasn't getting hyped on Granit Xhaka as a left back because I was looking at it and going, right, I can understand why you stick him in against Sheffield United. I can probably understand why you stick him in against Fulham. And I guess with hindsight, how they played on the night, you can understand why he played against Slavia Prague. I think the question that we were all asking was, well, what's going to happen when he plays someone a bit more capable? And I think we kind of saw that in the build-up to the goal. Like Richarlison had him on ice. He was on skates here, and I think his lack of pace was evident. His lack of positional awareness as a left back was evident. He was caught out with the ball over the top, and once that ball was past him, you know, Kieran Tierney there, even Cedric there, because Cedric has a bit of pace. I'm a bit more confident with Xhaka. Yeah, for me, that aside from what happened in the finish of that move, because let's be fair, Bernd Leno did not cover himself in glory whatsoever. It should have been a fairly easy catch, pick up, whatever fuck you want to call it, for Bernd Leno. But Granit Xhaka, I think we saw the frailties there as a defender.
This is something that I've mentioned in the last few games. This is something that I've mentioned in my own matchday preview. I don't want to see Granit Xhaka playing left back because guess what? He's not a natural left back, number one. Number two, you've got Cedric who can play left back, who's a far better defender than Xhaka is. Number three, wouldn't you rather see Granit Xhaka play centre mid than left back? And when he's playing against someone like Richarlison, what do you expect? Richarlison, you know, he leaves normal left backs to pick themselves up. So it was no surprise that Granit Xhaka overall didn't have a terrible game. And I don't blame Granit Xhaka for what happened to him for that first goal, for the only goal. I'll put my finger at Arteta. Why are you persisting playing Granit Xhaka left back when you know he's not a natural left back? He's been average, decent. You know, he had a good performance against Sheffield United, a good performance against Slavia Prague. When you're playing against a decent quality side, and by the way, they had a very strong squad. You know, I thought with the number of injuries that they had, I'm just going to quickly have a look at their starting lineup. In fact, do you mind just putting it back up again on the screen just so I can have a look?
This is the Everton lineup, yeah?
Yeah, the Everton one, yeah. When you've
Yeah,
got players
yeah,
like
probably for it.
Calvert-Lewin, when you've got players like Richarlison, Sigurdsson, who hit the post in the first half, when you've got a side who can play decent football, and by the way, in that first half, they did play some really good football where they were getting it into our final third and looking more of a threat. Whereas us, on the other hand, we were playing some good football, keeping possession, but struggling to be lethal in the final third, struggling to pull the trigger. So look, when you've got Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, Sigurdsson, Allen, Rodriguez, and Gomez, those are 6 quality players. You don't need to be playing someone like Granit Xhaka on the left. You can do with Cedric on the left. And I get the argument that Cedric maybe isn't as good playing outfield from that position, isn't as good running down the flanks. But you don't need that when you've got Pepe, Saka, Partey, Ceballos, who were playing quite high up. And so that decision confuses me. I mean, in terms of Mari and Holding at the back, I was fairly happy with. I was glad that he went with Mari rather than Gabriel. I was glad that he went with Chambers. And by the way, Chambers today had another really good, impressive game. And I hope that he continues. Some of the balls that he was popping into the box were world class. They were brilliant. Arsenal tonight didn't have a bad game per se. I think the football was good. I think the chances were created. I think they were good in the final third. They had the balls coming into the box. The problem was we didn't have a finisher up front. Eddie Nketiah isn't good enough to play for Arsenal Football Club. We know that. We've known that for a very long time. And so maybe Arteta should have had Balogun on the bench. Maybe Martinelli should have started up front. We brought him on in the 72nd minute. And, by that time when they scored the goal, it was, we were pretty much out of it. But in the second half, the dominance of football was outstanding to watch at some points. I mean, you almost forget you were playing against an Everton side who had those men who were struggling to get it out of their own half. Someone asked me during the game, what is Arteta's style of play? I can't quite recognize it. But in that second half, I could clearly recognize it. High tempo, high intensity, playing a high line, intercepting the ball as early as possible. Defenders like Godfrey and Holgate were finding it really difficult to play out from the back. Players like Ceballos always getting their party as well, always getting there before them, and then posing a successful counter-attack. And this is the Arsenal that I'm enjoying watching because, since Wenger left, I haven't been able to relate a style of football to Arsenal or to Unai Emery. But now all of a sudden I'm seeing a sense of an identity with Arsenal. It's nice football being played, a brand of attacking football being played. But unless we have someone up front who can finish the ball, and had we had Aubameyang from the Unai Emery era, I reckon that we wouldn't be sitting ninth right now. We'll be a lot higher up the table. But it's goals that have cost us this season, and it's a pattern. We see it week in, week out. Possessing football, in control of the game. You don't put your chances away, and what happens? You either make a mistake or your opposition gets an opportunity and they score. And a team like Everton only needs 1 or 2. They can be isolated out of the game, but when you've got quality like Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up front, who can strike at any moment, at any time, you don't waste opportunities. You can't afford to waste any opportunities. So I feel bad for players like Pepe and Saka, who I thought had a really good game. Saka in the first half had an opportunity on goal, striked it straight down the middle. His overall link-up play was quite good. Pepe as well, loved seeing him on the left-hand side. I hope that continues. A lot of direct football, a lot of really good crosses in the box. My frustration was with Eddie, not getting in the right places at the right time. Because with the type of crosses that were coming into the box, you'd expect someone like Nketiah to be there, someone who's a poacher, someone who likes to hit the ball off the counter or hit the ball, a few yards outside of the goal. But again, today, he just didn't seem switched on. I don't think any one of them really seemed switched on. In the first half, it seemed like a friendly game almost. Both teams just knocking the ball about, not really focused on trying to open up the defence. And that might have been something to do with what was happening before the game. It might have been to do with the Super League. And I guess you can give all clubs in the Premier League this week a pass because of all the madness that's been going on. But I'll tell you something now. Thursday against Villarreal, if these boys don't turn up, and if Arteta doesn't find a solution to play someone else other than Nketiah, we're going to be in for a very, very long evening. And by the way, we are starting the semi-finals away. Usually it's at home. I mean, I almost think it's an advantage when we start at home, because you go away and then you can go for the away goals. And having our home form the way it's been, you wouldn't really want Arsenal to finish the semi-finals at home playing against an Unai Emery side, and he'll be ready. He will know exactly what to do and where to approach that game. He'll have a point to prove. But if we don't win the Europa League this season, and we're not in Europe next season, could go two ways. Could be beneficial for us, as it was for Chelsea, where they were out of Europe for a season and they managed to focus themselves in the league and then get back into the Champions League. Or it could go terribly wrong. Finances, not being able to build, not being able to carry out the signings that we need to in the summer. Arteta not being given what he wants, and then further managerial changes. That's the last thing you want right now. If there's one thing that this club needs right now, is stability. That's it. That's all we need. We need stability. We need a plan, and we need someone to take this club by the scruff of the neck and say, right, this is what we're going to do for the upcoming season. This is how we're going to approach it. Right now, it doesn't seem like anybody wants to take initiative. Nobody really wants to be that guy who leads. We talk about leadership. We talk about leaders all day long. Arsenal Football Club have zero. Vinay is supposed to be that guy that stands up and represents the club and carries it on his shoulders. Some of the responses that he was given on the fan forum was laughable. The guy didn't want to, mentioning things like, oh, if anybody knows who I am, I'm an Arsenal man through and through. He didn't really show me that in the last few days with the type of decisions that you were making. But I digress. Moving on to Thursday, it's going to be one of the game of our seasons. How many times have we said that before? Arteta needs to get the starting 11 right. I'm hoping and praying that Aubameyang comes back, because God knows we need him. And if it is a similar starting lineup with Nketiah starting up front, then he's going to have the game of his life, because we're going to need at least 2 goals to then go back to the Emirates with some sort of confidence of heading into the finals.
Yeah, there's as you said, every game seems to be the biggest game of the season. Just check this mic working okay. Everyone can hear me all right? No, I'm going to try to unplug this for a sec, because I'm having all sorts of trouble with this mic here at the moment. So let me just now, is that any better? Yeah, you can hear now. Yeah, sorry, apologies. Having all sorts of mic trouble here tonight. But yeah, look, just before we're just going to wrap it up, but just before I do, Dave, aside from even who we're going with up top, Nketiah, Martinelli, hopefully Aubameyang might be available, would you be tempted maybe to swap the goalkeeper after what happened tonight? Is this one mistake too many for Bernd Leno?
Does he have the battle to do it? I suppose is the question. I don't think I would, and I'd go with Leno. And I like Matty Ryan. I think he's actually a solid enough keeper. He looked good with his feet against Fulham as well, and he's played 2 games and he's conceded 1 goal in each. That he's not been any way able to do anything about it. One was the deflection against Villa, and the second was a penalty. And he kind of he threw his head on the corner as well against Fulham the weekend, which kind of led to the goal as well. So we could use him up front if Aubameyang and Lacazette aren't back. But no,
better option, I'd say.
I don't know. Just about. No, I wouldn't. I think just he'll kind of stick with what we know. I think coming into that game, although you could argue, look, what we know isn't doing very good, but I think he is a good keeper. Is he a great keeper? Probably not, but I think coming into that game, he's kind of enough, I suppose, credit in the bank to get him away with that one tonight, as bad as it is. But But the only thing is if we're going to sign Matt Ryan, which it looks like we are going to do, is that really going to push Leno on again next season to kind of cut out these mistakes and say to himself, look, I have a bit of competition here. I better up my game. At the moment he's probably a little bit too comfortable, and he needs someone that's going to come in and just rightly kind of give him the kick he needs to push on. I don't think, although Matt Ryan is good, I don't think Leno kind of sees him as that serious of a threat. I know there were suggestions. You could go back for Chesney maybe at Juventus, and bring him in to challenge Leno, but I don't think we're good enough there yet to have two keepers of that caliber. I always said that Leno is probably one of the goalkeeping isn't one of the positions we needed immediately to worry about, and we kind of had other areas to strengthen. So look, tonight, hopefully we're not kind of starting to see something where we've another position to fill. As we say, 500 million probably isn't going to fix this team, so we don't need to add another whatever amount onto that on a goalkeeper. So look, if you were to drop him, does that give him the boot he needs to kind of to say, right, look, I'm under serious pressure here, and I need to up my game. Look, Arteta did drop Aubameyang in the derby for turning up late at training. Look, I know it's a different situation, but he's shown once or twice before that he's not afraid to make the big decision when he needs to. So would he go with it? I wouldn't be majorly surprised, but I don't think he will, and I don't think I would. I think it's just maybe one too many of a risk, because you think, is he going to play Xhaka left back again? And he's kind of other areas of the field I think he needs to worry about more, kind of from risk taking point of view, as opposed to the goalkeeping position. So as much as I like Matty Ryan, and he was kind of one of the goalkeepers I was kind of saying I'd look at signing as a backup for the option that he is. So I'd play Matt Ryan for the rest of the league though, and then, because look, more so tonight, we've give ourselves absolutely nothing to play for in the league, as opposed to what a win might have slightly done. So I don't think we've anything to lose. Let Matt Ryan stake his claim for next season, and then at least then when it comes into the start of next season, you could go, look, if Leno is continuing to start, Matt Ryan has no complaints then after that. So that probably maybe something he could look at there from that point of view and go from there. But no, for the moment, Leno still number one, just about.
So basically what you're saying is Arteta's going to shock us all and stick Runerson in goal against Villarreal. Oh God. And just when we thought we'd all forgot about him. But yeah, look, I know, I agree. Look, definitely give Matt Ryan a couple of games in the league. I understand the whole momentum and keep players confident of that. So if we do remain in the competition, you can't exactly leave Leno sat out and risk him not being sharp. Not that he looked particularly sharp for that ball into the box. Yeah, so look, lads, we're going to wrap up now. Just before we do, I guess just going off of how we're feeling right now, Liam, are you confident going into the Villarreal game? Do you think we're going to get the result?
No. I mean, no. There's just no confidence in this team at all, is there? But then I didn't fancy us away at Slavia Prague the way we were playing, and they shocked us. Do you know what? It's always the way, and it's been the way for the last 8-9 games. Every single time I think we're going to get beat, we win the game. Every time I think, we'll win tonight, we get beat. Like, it is unbelievable. Like, Leicester away, I thought, no, not win the game. Burnley away, yeah, we'll win that. Fulham at home, yeah, brilliant. Even Tottenham, I think, nah, don't really. It's just been the same. It's just unbelievable. So I'm just going to go, I don't know, actually. That's probably the best answer. I don't know.
I don't think any of us know.
Possible to answer right now. You
know what, though? I tried changing my tactic for this game, because I'm the very same as you. It's always when I go, you know what, I fancy us tonight. That's when we don't show up. And just like that, when I say, I don't know about tonight, that's when we actually show up. So I was asked the other day, what do I think going into the Everton game? And I went, I reckon 2-0 Everton. I reckon I reckon Everton are going to turn us over. And then, of course, I said, "Do you know what? I'm trying something else. Maybe I shouldn't have said it out loud, but I said, I'm trying something else here because anytime I'm confident, the backfires." But yeah, I hate being right sometimes. But Farhan, how are you feeling, Villarreal? Do you think we can upset the odds in the first leg?
Who knows, man? Who knows? It really is. It's been one of those seasons you really can't call any game that Arsenal play. It's been that unpredictable. But just having a look at Villarreal's fixtures, they lost to Alaves 2-1. They've got Barcelona on Sunday, and then they play us. They're not going through the best, period right now in the season. And having a look at their starting 11 as well, they don't really have an amazing team. You've got a couple of strikers in Moreno and Alcacer up front, Danny Parejo in midfield. You've got our ex-man, Francis Coquelin. They don't have the best defensive.
You know what, Farhan? Sorry to interrupt you, but what I said to someone the other day was, my feeling on Villarreal was they were the weakest team left in the competition with the strongest manager for the competition. So for me, it's a complete mixed bag. It could be. It's a toss-up, really.
Yeah, no, you make an absolutely brilliant point. If there's one man who knows how to win the Europa League, regardless of what team he's managing, it's Unai Emery. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a fascinating game to watch both managers try and outsmart each other. It will be interesting to see how Arteta plays this game, because if there's one thing that he's shown this season is that he's very intelligent when it comes to playing a different style of football depending on who it is he's playing. I go back to the Southampton game when we lost in the FA Cup, and then we beat them in the league so impressively. And I genuinely believe that he got the lessons that he needed to in the FA Cup defeat to then beat them in the Premier League. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating game to see who can get one over the other. I reckon the first leg will be very tight. It will be very edgy. And like I say, starting 11 will be crucial. It'll be really important. If Arsenal can get a really pacey, fast, and attacking side going ahead against a Villarreal side, because I imagine that Unai Emery will want to try and slow us down as much as possible, because our biggest strength has been not necessarily starting, but playing this fast brand of football that we do. And the perfect representation of that was against Slavia Prague. They could not stop us in any department of the pitch, and they were almost shell-shocked at how quick we were coming out to play against them. So, should Pepe, Saka, and Emile Smith-Rowe, and remember Odegaard's back, depending on who starts with this, Odegaard or Emile Smith-Rowe, any of them, if we get those three starting, it could be still a very impressive victory for Arsenal. And again, this isn't something that we can predict because we know what Arsenal are like. So you can get both ends of the spectrum: a really good Arsenal, a really poor Arsenal, or an Arsenal who lose because they don't finish their opportunities, and then they end up making a sloppy mistake. So I'm going to remain optimistic and say, based on the facts, based on what I've seen, the statistics and players on the sheet, Arsenal should win it. Let's see what happens.
Let's see, indeed. And finally, Dave, is it going to be a good evening or a bad evening for Arsenal?
Good evening, I will say. Yeah, look, maybe the Arteta style is probably a little bit more suited to maybe the European games. I think as well as what you get in Europe is what you don't get in the Premier League is the European teams, they play a higher line, so that might fall into us and suit us with the quicker players going forward. You see, we all kind of question the likes of Timo Werner and all that because he was so used to playing against higher lines and then exploiting the pace there. So whereas now in the Premier League he's struggling due to teams playing deeper and they don't give you a lot of space in behind. So might be something like that where in Europe we'd be more suited to play. I'd be similar to Farhan as well. I'd rather be home first leg and then go catch them and go, and then if you're nicking away a goal in the second leg, then they almost need 2 goals then, to counteract that. So I would have liked, I suppose, to be at home the first leg, but what's a good result away from home even in Europe at the minute? I'd say Villarreal probably be happy with a draw, would they? And then go and try and seek in the can they get something at the Emirates? I always remember Mourinho saying it before. He was, I think it was with Real Madrid against, I don't know, was it against United or someone at the time, but he almost celebrated drawing 0-0 at home, because he was like, oh, sure, we'll go now, we'll nick an away goal and they need two, that kind of way. So, yeah, I would be quietly confident, and hopefully which I suppose we've something to prove now after tonight as well. Look, yeah, as I say, the two boys up front for Villarreal they'll test you, Moreno and Alcacer. They get a chance, they'll score, and they have two ex-Spurs players as well. Yeah, they've won fight. I think he'll be right back, and Eddie and Capoue will be midfield. So hopefully we'll give them another one. But it'd be interesting to see the centre half as well that everyone's raving about. Pau Torres, he kind of seems to be on the radar of a lot of teams. So look, we'll see what he's all about on Thursday night, and see is he everything that he's cracked up to be. But yeah, I'd be confident going into it. I'd be more confident on Thursday than I will be the following Thursday when we're at the Emirates.
Yeah, it's a shame in a sense that we're not at the Emirates, pure for the fact that to keep up the momentum of what we're trying to do with these protests and that, because I'm hoping as we've not to go over and over again and regurgitate, but as we said, it's going to take more than one protest. So yeah, let's hope the energy doesn't die off between now and the next time we're back at the Emirates. But yeah, look, I guess I kind of share a similar sentiment to everybody. Sort of, yeah, quietly confident. I'd be a bit more confident, I guess, had we had a couple of players out on the pitch tonight, maybe the likes of Aubameyang or Lacazette or something, and we just played badly and lost. But I'm sort of looking at the team and kind of going, oh, Nketiah and that up front. Am I confident? Like, at least with Aubameyang, Lacazette, those guys, they have a bad game. They're still capable of popping up and grabbing a goal. Whereas I'm sort of saying with Nketiah, doesn't exactly fill me with confidence. We just have to wait and see. Who do we have in the team at the moment that is a match winner for us? I don't know. Pepe, maybe? Would he be the man might step up? I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting one. But lads, yeah, look, we're going to wrap it up. So I want to say massive thanks to all of you for coming on here. And it's been a long day. It's been a long day. And this ring light is not doing me any favors here. This has been a hectic day from going to work to coming back, that live stream. Farhan, I can only imagine what you went through. So it's been a rough one, but no, cheers, lads. I really appreciate it, and to everyone that's been watching, as always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, check out the lads. And Liam, do you want to give yourself a shout out there?
Yeah, so you can find me on my personal Twitter, which is at lkendi89. But also I'm part of a trio at Anything Arsenal. Again, as always, do match previews and reviews. I try not to jump on other people's stream as well to share my opinion with other people like yourselves if possible. Yeah,
love it. And Dave, again, absolute trooper. You were my wingman today. I felt like we were. I don't know. Were we like working in the newsroom at one stage, and we were kind of jumping, between streams, and we're live at the Emirates. It's such a first, and it was a pretty cool experience, to be fair. But you stuck it out with me all day. It's the second stream of the day, actually third stream technically.
Technically, yeah, it's three when you think the boys from N5 were on as well. Yeah, it was unreal. So I know we weren't there, and it was a pity we kind of weren't there. But with the lads like Farhan and that come on, they gave you kind of a real good experience and kind of a feel for what was going on as well. Kind of, I suppose, a little bit part of it as well. I'm a sucker for punishment even more than Anthony, so I can't get enough of that Dublin accent. That's the problem. But
can't get enough of that Guinness I'm sending you.
Maybe so. It's in the contracts. I'm just here to fulfill my contract, you see. But no, look, you can find me on the Out Now Gunner. You'll find me more so on Twitter as you would on YouTube at the minute. So you'll find me here on Republic of Arsenal, and then I kind of do tip around on different bits as well. So you'll see my mug kind of anywhere. So wherever you see me jump in, anyway, we'll have a bit of crack.
That is 100%. And look, this man, needs an awful lot of praise for today. Absolute trooper. Doing the rounds at the Emirates for us today, providing the live streams and the content, and we even managed to look. The poor guy's lying in bed, and we still have him here with us. And he's our therapist, so that's partially why he had to come back as well, because we needed a lot of therapy, more so than usual tonight. But Farhan, you're an absolute legend. Give yourself a shout out.
No, really, listen, I appreciate you having me on once again. It's been a pleasure being here with you boys and reliving everything that's happened today. And yeah, it's been a crazy old day. I think, more than anything, I felt the duty to go out there and really, for the fans that weren't there because, it's one thing going to protest, taking part, having a good day out, but it's another thing holding yourself accountable and responsible for making sure that everyone who's not able to attend these protests feel the emotion that we feel there, because the work is very much done on social media, through Twitter, through YouTube. This is where it begins, and this is where it will continue. Going to protest isn't what matters. What matters is making sure everyone is on the same sheet. And so I felt the duty to, do my own live stream out there, just so if I could get 10 people or 15 people to watch it, at least I know that they're taking part actively and they can feel exactly what we're feeling and they know how much this means to us. Again, I really appreciate all the work that you're doing and every single one of you, because for the long run, every little thing that we do, it makes a difference and it means a lot. And a lot of people, they ask me, why are you so crazy about football? This is just 22 men kicking a ball around the pitch. But for me, it's not that. It's a lot more than that. Football and supporting a football club is ultimately a lot more than just a ball, or a lot more than just a football club, a sport. It's to do with community building. It's to do with what happens in a local area, and how much influence football has in local areas. Because I genuinely believe, had this Super League gone through and been successful, we already saw the detriment and the fear it filled people. But had it been successful, it could have been the end of society as we know it. Football makes such a big part of what we do in our day-to-day lives, the conversations we have when we go to work. Or did you watch the football on the weekend? It's these little things that make a big difference. But yeah, if you want to hear me ramble on about these kind of things, you can find me on YouTube at Gunner Since 96. I've got a podcast as well called the Arsenal Therapy Podcast. God knows we need it. So, hopefully Arsenal do the business on Thursday and we can come back and we can have a nice evening and right the wrongs.
You put it absolutely brilliantly. I love that. Yeah, it's not just a game; it's about community and that. And look, the pair of us, or a lot of us here, we can attest to that. This is the thing that drives me insane, which is Arsenal, is the thing that has kept me sane during these crazy times, the lockdown, and like that means so many people. And today, yeah, it was a really cool experience. We weren't able to be there, but like that, through the likes of yourself and others that were willing to chip in and give us a bit of time. It was really, really cool experience and felt part of it. So like hopefully everybody that watched kind of got a little experience of that as well. And if they did, then look, job done, and we're happy. Until the main job is done and Kroenke's gone out the door, and then we're ecstatic. And then, but the only problem is, Farhan, you might be losing a few clients now if Kroenke goes and all the problems are solved. Yeah. Will we need any more therapy needed?
Listen, just like Liam said, there's a long list of men that we need to move on to after Kroenke's dealt with. So don't worry, the clients are rolling in.
Yeah, I can only imagine you wouldn't have done too much business with that Invincibles team back in the day. But lads, no, look, I appreciate the time as always. Appreciate everybody that's been checking out the stream, whether you watch with us live or whether you listen, on Spotify, Anchor, wherever. Really do appreciate it. So look, thanks for sticking with us. Come on, you Gunners.